May 8th and 9th, 2015, the Global Prayer Day, a time to commemorate the end of the greatest crime in human history. On May 8, 1945, Nazi Germany signed a document of unconditional surrender in the presence of representatives of the three Western Allies, the USA, UK, and France. On May 9, it was signed in Berlin in the presence of the representatives of the Soviet Union. With the end of World War II in Europe, the Holocaust, the greatest crime in human history, finally came to a halt.
We have wandered very far from the place of our origin.
70 years ago, the praying church was too weak. 70 years ago, many of the nations in Europe and beyond were in confusion to what happens with the Holocaust and what is their responsibility. And this, 70 years later, may be a time to learn from history.
History has painted grotesque pictures of our haughtiness, persecuting those who were the first to know you.
The genocide of 6 out of 11 million European Jewish people was the greatest tragedy in the last 4,000 years of Jewish experience. For us Christians who love the Jewish people with the love of God, this is an appropriate moment to identify with their unique suffering 70 years ago.
For me, as a Christian from Germany, with my German perspective and sense of history and Bible, I can see very clearly that what happened to the Jews in the 1920s and 30s of last century is happening again, but not to the Jews in general only, but especially to little Israel.
Prophecies you've spoken through the prophets of ancient Israel are coming to fulfillment right in front of our eyes.
70 years ago, the praying church of Germany and Europe, most of us, did not understand the signs of the time and our obligation and responsibility towards the Jewish people. How about today?
Just as Europe in the late 19th and early 20th centuries grew more and more anti-Semitic, our world is spiraling in the same direction today. History is repeating itself. More than 70 years ago, the majority of the Christian world and the Christian church turned a blind eye to the mounting threats against the Jews of Europe. How about today? Did we learn from history? Do we understand the signs of the times today? Are we walking in our calling to be salt and light, and priests and prophets for our own nations as they move toward the valley of decision, according to Joel 3:14, to be judged by Jesus to be either a sheep nation, which has blessed his people, or a goat nation, which has cursed his people, according to Matthew 25:31 and following?
On behalf of the three initiating European-based ministries, Christians for Israel International, European Coalition for Israel, and Operation Exodus Ebenezer, I want to thank you for your prayerful consideration to participate at that Global Prayer Day. 70 years ago, the majority of the church and the majority of the European nations failed the Jewish people. Today, we have a chance to come before the throne of God and plead before Him that the nations and that the church go a better way.